This debate happens in countries or places where there was a remarkable cannibalism practice happens in relatively long time in the past, such as but not limited in Uganda, Papua New Guinea, etc., where even the practice, if it even still probably exists despite having been legally banned by the state. We say that in this place, these places really need active promotion of discouragement of any behavior resembles to cannibalism, because the government should be more bold stance to promote the cannibalism or any other behavior similar to it is completely immoral. Now, in these places also, in the other hand, the rise of flavored condoms trend also happened in the state for encouraging citizens to enjoy brand new pleasure of oral sex. How that these flavored condoms are offering various flavors in order to enhance the pleasure that is obtained through doing oral sex. But we think that this trend is not right to happen in this state, because we believe that this trend, especially supported by the use of flavored condoms, can promote cannibalistic behavior. And I'm going to prove in this debate why the use of flavored condoms will result to cannibalistic behavior does deserve to be banned by the state. So I have three arguments to justify this motion. So going to the first argument first. How does the use of flavored condoms reflect the cannibalistic behavior? So let's acknowledge that there are two elements of cannibalism. First is involvement of human being flesh as the source of pleasure. Second, the presence of excitement from the practicer toward this human flesh. So we say that oral sex, especially supported by the flavored condoms, can fulfill these elements, right? Because firstly, oral sex itself is inherently a sexual behavior resembles to cannibalism. We think that yes, probably it's not the actual eating of human flesh, but it's done using oral parts such as teeth, tongue, and mouth in doing human being genitalia as the objects of the practice. Moreover, there is also enjoyment and pleasure from the subject who is doing this oral sex to drive this person becoming more aggressive, especially with these flavored condoms. These flavored condoms massively enhance the aggressiveness of this kind of practicer in engaging with this genitalia or human being flesh due to the flavors of the condoms, which may give fantasies for this practicer to enjoy the human flesh as source of pleasure, just like consuming food. We think that that's why, since we think that it's a very reminiscent behavior toward cannibalism, when people enjoy the body parts of human being with their mouth to get satisfaction, we believe that this kind of behavior should be banned since the very first place, right? But second argument, why we believe that this also will convey harmful sexual behaviors among the society. First is that let's not forget that the oral sex with flavored condoms also can bring weird tendency toward the person whose the genital becomes the object of oral sex. Why? Because of in consensual oral sex, the person who becomes object gets sexual arousal, which occurs in response toward the action of the practicer. These objective persons genital gets swallowed by the practicer who is driven by the excitement tasting the flavor of the condoms. We think that this is harmful, right? Because of this has possibility to create sexual behaviors called phorarephilia. The sexual behavior which glorify the pleasure which is obtained from someone being eaten or being swallowed. While this tendency is very similar with cannibalism, the tendency also has possibility to shape mindset of citizens to always produce fantasy that make people always imagine getting aroused by eating people or being eaten by someone. We think that this tendency when becoming sex trend is a very dangerous among the citizens who ever have long history of cannibalism. Why? Because of in this kind of states, government and international society has struggled to educate the citizens that cannibalism and any other behavior similar with it can never be justified. Well, in the other hand, this trend even become contradictory in the end of the day because of this trend itself. What makes people become possible to become cannibalist fetishes? Because of these people will see that their sex partners as an object who has body parts that are lovely to be tasted or to be swallowed. That's why we say that it's a contradictory. Now, we think that the citizens are not ready yet to receive such contradictory, because even status quo, even cannibalist culture are still close with this kind of citizens on how there are still probably cannibalist community in rural areas that never been touched by the government. Now, when the government in the status quo really wants this society to condemn this cannibalist culture by taking away this cannibalist culture from the citizens, the society itself will not feel uh, will not will not have such kind of huge hatred toward this cannibalist society, because of they are they are themselves have similar behaviors just like this cannibalist culture. That's why we think that it's very wrong to let this tendency exist in a country who has boldly opposed the idea of cannibalism. So last is that the idea of government role. There are two situations where government can intervene, right? First is that when it's dealing with the standardization of citizens' behaviors for preventing harms, and second is that when something is not in line with country's goal. We say that first, government is able to standardize behaviors of the citizens if it's deemed necessary to protect society from something that is harmful based on government's perspective, including this sex behavior. That's why we say when the use of flavored condoms perceive can defect the society with immorality by promoting cannibalistic behavior, government can intervene it. It's the same idea with government is able to ban necrophilia, for example, just because the government perceives it as immoral, right? Not to mention, especially when certain behavior is not in line with government's goal. We think that government's goal is to annihilate the cannibalism that they had in the past. That's why we think anything reminiscent to it should not be tolerated. We think that even if probably this kind of existence of flavored condoms are not going to immediately make the history becoming repeated, still it's still the form of symbolism, right? Now we think that the form of symbolism is not supposed to be tolerated exist, just like how in Germany, for example, how the horror of Nazism should not be still remain exist in the current status quo, because of people really hate this kind of symbolism, because it brings past traumatic and also horror from the long history in the past. Therefore, we think that since it's harmful for the behavior of citizens, and also this effort is in line with the goal of the government, we are proud to propose.